Good Garvey Day, brothers and sisters. Good Garvey Day, brothers and sisters. Good Garvey Day, brothers and sisters. Peace and Pan-Africanism to my Caribbean Africans. Peace and Pan-Africanism to my Africans throughout the continent of Europe. Peace and Pan-Africanism to my Africans in Asia. Peace and Pan-Africanism to my Canadian Africans. Peace and Pan-Africanism to my Central America Africans. Peace and Pan-Africanism to my South American Africans. Peace and Pan-Africanism to my Australian Africans. Peace and Pan-Africanism to my South Pacific Africans. Peace and Pan-Africanism to my continental Africans. Last but not least, peace and Pan-Africanism to my American Africans, my Texas Africans, my Ohio Africans, my Michigan Africans, my Illinois Africans, my Wisconsin Africans, my Arkansas Africans, my Mississippi Africans, my Louisiana Africans, my Arizona Africans, my California Africans, my Oregon Africans, my Washington State Africans, my DC Africans, my Virginia Africans, my Carolina Africans, my Florida Africans, my Maryland Africans, my New England Africans, my Boston Africans, my Connecticut Africans, my Rhode Island Africans, my New Hampshire Africans, my Maine and Vermont Africans, my Delaware Africans, my Pennsylvania Africans, my Jersey Africans, my New York Africans. King Kong consciousness is in the building. I've been missing for a while because I've been under the weather. I've been missing for a while. I've been under the weather. I'm still under the weather, about 60%. Thanks to all the queens out there and queen mothers who've been praying for the prince. Thanks to all the queens and the queen mothers out there who've been praying for the prince. I'm not going to keep you guys too long, but I do want to touch on two topics. I'm not going to keep you guys too long, but I do want to touch on two topics. Something I want to address with the Negropeans, and then something I want to address with the Neanderthals. First, I'm going to deal with the Negropeans. First, I'm going to deal with the Negropeans. First, I'm going to deal with the Negropeans, and then I'm going to deal with the Neanderthals. Negropeans. A few minutes ago, I posted on my Instagram and my Facebook, my fan base, and my Twitter. I posted LeBron James's tweet from July 3rd, 12:57 p.m. in response to the police execution of our good brother in Akron, Ohio, LeBron James's hometown. And in response to that murder of that brother who had 90 bullets shot in his direction, 60 of which pierced his person, several of the 60 bullets that pierced his person pierced his face. And even while he lay dead in this unjustified lynching by the police, they had the audacity to handcuff their victim as if he was a threat in death, as they tried to presume he was in life. And so LeBron James, the first active black millionaire athlete in North American professional sports history. Let me say it again. LeBron James, a native of Akron, Ohio, the first active American African athlete to become a billionaire while he was still playing his sport, a native of Akron. In response to the 60 bullet lynching of that 25-year-old, LeBron simply says, I pray for my city today. I pray. That's what the most influential and wealthiest active black athlete on the North American continent had to say in response to a 60 bullet execution of a black man in his hometown. I pray for my city. Let me compare LeBron James's response to some other activism that black athletes had risked their lives and careers for in the past. Let's go through this because I want to put LeBron James in context. And I'm not picking on you, LeBron. I respect you. I like you. I think you're a good guy. You're a good example of a responsible black man. A great example. You have a black wife, black children. You have never been in trouble. Not no major trouble. Okay? You keep your nose clean. You speak well. I respect you as a responsible black man. As an activist, you are horrible. You are not an activist. You have never sacrificed nothing, and you have never stood for nothing serious. You have never done anything but run your mouth. And I'm going to speak on this, my brother, because I'm sick and tired of the NBA passing you off as an activist and you yourself claiming to be one. And you have never done anything that even remotely can even remotely be considered activism. Okay? Let's look at this. And the reason I'm doing this is because you got Negroes who think athletes are beyond constructive criticism. We have Negroes who believe that if you make a certain amount of money, you are now absolved of any responsibility to what happens to other black people. So I'm here to tell you Negroes right now. I am here and I want to happily tell you this. I'm very happy when I say this. First of all, you need to understand a few things about the man you're listening to. I could give a damn about what any human being walking the earth has to say about me. I am comfortable being the nemesis of black consciousness. I am comfortable having black men be angry at me because I will not co-sign your sexual integrationism. I will not co-sign your sexual integrationism. I will not co-sign your sexual integrationism. I am happy that you are upset with me. I have no problem with rainbow gangers taking issue with the fact that I will not equate their struggle with what has been happening to us as African people. I have no problem with members of the Congressional Black Caucus being angry at me for saying that most of them no longer deserve a seat at that table because they have done nothing for African people. So tonight, I take aim respectably at brother LeBron James. This is not an insult to him as a man. It is a direct insult to him as a so-called activist because he's not that at all. LeBron, I'm going to give you 7 days to get to Akron and do something. I'm not asking you to break the law. I'm asking you to show up and show out, and you can do that without breaking the law. You can do that without demeaning or debasing yourself. You can do that without drawing any type of negative attention your way. Now, because you're a billionaire, it seems like you're trying to fade to black. Now that you met with them people a few weeks ago and they elevated you to billionaire status. So I guess you're a little too scared to speak up. No problem, my brother. But I have to deal with it. But I just wanted to let people know I am not afraid. I am not afraid to be the bad guy for a good cause. I am not afraid to be the bad guy for a good cause. I am not afraid to be the bad guy for a good cause. And when the most successful and influential and wealthiest black athlete gets on Twitter after a young man in his hometown got riddled with 60 bullets, and all you can say is, I pray for my city, I have a problem with that. And any responsible black man would also have a problem with that. To whom much is given, much is required. To whom much is given, much is required. Let's talk about what some real black athletes have done. Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf, 1996, before a preseason game on September the 1st, Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf, Denver Nuggets, praised during the singing of the national anthem in 1996, okay? He did that for religious reasons, but it still had racial connotations because a black man went against the expectations of white society. And one thing we have done a great job of, to our own detriment, is doing what white folks want us to do when they want us to do it. In fact, we may have been dancing to the tune of the slave master more after slavery than we danced to the tune before slavery. I'm going to say it again. We may have danced to the tune of the slave master more since slavery ended than before slavery began. Let's look at this. So Mahmoud Abdul Rauf, 1996, praised during the national anthem. He subsequently had his career cut short because he went against the wishes of white society. And then on September the 1st of 2016, San Francisco 49ers quarterback Colin Kaepernick knelt during the national anthem to call attention to issues of racial inequality, and police brutality. He had his career cut short. I know he's trying out for the Raiders. I don't know if he's going to make the team. Okay. Going back to Mahmoud Abdul Rauf. Okay. He refused to stand for the national anthem. He declared that it would be a violation of his Islamic faith. He told reporters that the American flag was a symbol of oppression and tyranny. The NBA suspended him for one game before reaching a compromise. Abdul Rauf would stand and pray during the anthem, but he paid a price. Denver traded him to Sacramento after that season, and despite his prolific scoring, he was out of the NBA by age of 29 for taking a stand. Bill Russell. Let's talk about the first black coach in NBA history. Let's talk about the first black coach in NBA history. Okay? Okay? And a man who I believe has earned the most NBA championships of any basketball player in the modern era. Listen to Bill Russell's protests. When he and 4 of his black teammates on the Boston Celtics were refused service in a restaurant in Lexington, Kentucky, Bill Russell told his coach, Red Auerbach, that they wouldn't play in an exhibition game in that city. 2 members of the St. Louis Hawks, Boston's opponents, joined them in the boycott. Red Auerbach didn't exactly stick up for his players. He told the Associated Press, quote, "The Negro boys got really emotional. They said they like to go home. We talked for 2 hours and I couldn't change their minds." Let me repeat, brothers and sisters. Let me repeat. That was in 1961. There was no civil rights bill. That was in 1961. They were still hanging black men from trees. That was in 1961. And that black man, Bill Russell, this is why I respect Bill Russell. This is why I respect Bill Russell. I don't respect Bill Russell because he was the first coach. I don't respect Bill Russell because he got 11 rings or however many rings he got. I respect Bill Russell because when he was a player, since he couldn't eat in the restaurant, since he couldn't eat with white people, he refused to play for white people. I said when Bill Russell couldn't eat with white people, he decided that he wasn't going to play with white people. I said when Bill Russell couldn't eat with white people in Lexington, Kentucky, Bill Russell decided he wouldn't play for white people in Lexington, Kentucky. Okay? Bill Russell and his teammates flew back to Boston, Massachusetts, where the newspaper declared, "Negroes in a fight for their rights, a fight for survival in a changing world. I am with these Negroes." A day later, Celtics owner told the Boston Globe the Celtics wouldn't play games in the South again, adding, I'm not so hungry for money that I arrange games that might embarrass my players. Bill Russell took a stand, and he forced the NBA to take a stand. Oh, let's keep going. 1965, the year they shot Malcolm. 1965, the year they shot Malcolm. If this comment is coonish, I'm blocking you. Let me see what we got. Hold on. You are the king of consciousness. There's a better way. You got the information to destroy these cats. We could reparations. We can't do it like this. You're attacking the wrong man. I'm going to block you because no man is above criticism. I'm going to block you. I'm banning you. I'm banning you. Don't put nothing coonish on my page. Nobody is above criticism. Nobody is above criticism. If you're okay with LeBron James praying instead of doing anything about them 60 bullets, you got a family up there who lost their son. You got a family up there who lost their brother, their uncle, their cousin, their nephew. You understand me? You got a community up there mourning right now. And instead of you standing with the community, you want to defend a privileged black athlete. That's your right to do it, but you're not going to do it on my page. That's your right to do it, but you're not going to do it on my page. Let's go to the next act of athletic protests. The American Football League moves All-Star game after the players' protest. The AFL All-Star game in 1965 in New Orleans was a nightmare for black All-Stars. Taxis refused to pick up black players. Nightclubs on Bourbon Street were segregated, and a bouncer pulled a gun out on Ernie Ladd. After that, the players refused to play. New Orleans Mayor Victor Shurel told the Associated Press that the protests would, quote, aggravate the very conditions they are seeking in time to eliminate. But the AFL Commissioner Joe Foss didn't blame the players for withdrawing, and he quickly relocated the game to Houston. The protests accelerated the desegregation of New Orleans. Let me say that again. By the black players protesting the AFL All-Star game in 1965, it forced the city of New Orleans to do what? Accelerate the desegregation of the city. You know why? They were losing black money. You know why? They were losing black money. It wasn't about rights. I've told y'all this a million times. White power only respects three things: blood, money, and organized numbers of black people. I said blood, money, and organized numbers of black people. When they started losing all that money, when them black players refused to play, and the AFL started losing all that money on All-Star weekend, they came to their senses real fast. Let me keep on going. 1967, Muhammad Ali refuses the draft. Let's talk about Muhammad Ali, because y'all think I'm picking on LeBron, but I'm going to show you what black athletes did when it wasn't even safe to protest. It wasn't even safe for Bill Russell to do what he did in 61. It wasn't safe for them brothers to do what they did at the AFL All-Star game in New Orleans. It wasn't safe for Muhammad Ali to refuse the draft in 1967. And you're going to sit up here and tell me it's okay for LeBron James, a billionaire athlete, to pray. 60 bullets in his hometown. A black man caught 60 bullets and all he gonna do is pray. You can miss me with that. Let me continue. When the U.S. Army said Muhammad Ali was draft eligible, he declared he was a conscientious objector to military service. The war was against his Muslim faith. He said, quote, I ain't got no quarrel with the Viet Cong. He told reporters April 28, 1967. He refused induction into the army. Muhammad Ali was stripped of his heavyweight title and banned from boxing for 3 years. And I'm reading an article, by the way. 2 months later, Muhammad Ali was convicted by an all-white jury and sentenced to 5 years in prison for his refusal to be inducted into the army. Public opinion was against Muhammad Ali. And the Atlanta Constitution claimed, quote, Cassius Clay has plenty of company in the draft dodging league. At the time, few in the media referred to him as Muhammad Ali. 4 years later, the U.S. Supreme Court reversed Muhammad Ali's conviction. 4 years later, the U.S. Supreme Court reversed Muhammad Ali's conviction in a unanimous vote. One of the greatest athletes of all time retired from boxing in 1981. Oh, I want to put this in context. Muhammad Ali took a stand in 67. Bill Russell took a stand in 61. Now we gonna go to 68. Now we gonna go to 68. My own personal favorite. Now we gonna go to 68. My own personal favorite. Tommy Smith, John Carlos at the Summer Olympics. Tommy Smith, John Carlos at the Summer Olympics. Tommy Smith, John Carlos at the Summer Olympics. Tommy Smith won a gold medal. John Carlos won the bronze. 200 meters, Mexico City. But history remembers what they did on the podium. While the Star-Spangled Banner played, each of these proud, respectable, courageous black men raised a black glove power fist on the biggest sports stage in the world, the Olympics. All three athletes on the podium wore human rights badges, including the white man. Australian silver medalist Peter Norman. The International Olympic Committee president, Avery Brundage, banned Smith and Carlos, who were vilified in the media. They called them a couple of black-skinned stormtroopers. Did y'all hear that? They called them black-skinned stormtroopers. Neither one ever won another medal at the Olympics. They couldn't get a job. They couldn't go back to college. They got death threats. Their life was never the same, but they will be remembered for eternity because they took a stand. Let's keep on going. 1969. The state of Wyoming bans 14 black players for a planned protest. Wyoming's football team was undefeated, ranked 12th the week of its game against Brigham Young. But when 14 black members of the team visited head coach Lloyd Eaton to discuss an upcoming protest of the allegedly racist policies of the Mormon church, Eaton shut them down. He said, "Gentlemen, you can save time and breath." According to one of the black players, he said, "As of now, you're off the football team." A week later, 4 black track athletes at Wyoming quit the team in solidarity with the football players. And the football team was met by protests at every road game. In their next 38 games after the mass dismissal, the Cowboys won only 12 games. Eaton was out as coach after 1970. In 2019, the University of Wyoming apologized to the black 14. You see that? You see what happens when you stand for something? Do you see what happens when you stand for something? And I'm going to come back in a minute. To all the black NFL players, I want to say something to y'all for how y'all failed to stand with Colin Kaepernick. I want to say something I hope the black NFL players is listening to these brave black athletes who came before you. I hope all the black NFL football players are listening to the acts of honor and self-respect that were paid by these black athletes who came before you. I hope every black NBA player is listening to how black men in professional sports used to stand up. That's right. Not everybody is a Charles Barkley. Not everybody is a Shaquille O'Neal. Not everybody is a Stephen A. Smith. Some black men in sports got guts and they stand up for their people. Okay? Not everybody is a snow bunny Shannon Sharp. Some black men walk it and talk it. Shannon will talk it, but Shannon don't walk it. Going home to a snow bunny. Let's keep on going. 1970. Billie Jean King demands better pay. At the open era in tennis, This black woman in this brother in 1968, men were earning far more prize money than women. Billie Jean King decided to fight, boycotting a 1970 tournament because it awarded men $12,500 and women only $15,000. This was a sister. King arranged a rival tour despite facing suspension from the U.S. Lawn Tennis Association. By September 1970, tournaments increased purses for women to avoid boycotts from King and her like-minded competitors. In June of 73, King became the first president of the Women's Tennis Association. This black woman protested lower pay in 1968. We in the 60s and they standing up. We are in the 60s and they standing up. What excuse do you athletes got today? They were standing up in the 60s. What excuse do you athletes got today? Let's continue. This woman suffered at the moment, but she ultimately received her vindication when she was made president of the Women's Tennis Association. A month later, the U.S. Open announced men and women will receive equal prizes. I want you to see, you might not see the victory in your life, but you will see the victory when you stand for something. I remember I met the late Dr. Yolanda King, daughter of the last great black leader we had, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And when I met with Yolanda King, she wrote on my brochure, rest in peace, because she's an ancestor too. Rest in peace to Yolanda King. But Yolanda King wrote on my brochure, and she said, if you don't stand for something, you will fall for anything. I never forgot. I think I was in the 11th grade or 12th grade. We went to Shippensburg University to see Yolanda King. And she wrote that on my program. If you don't stand for something, you're going to fall for anything. Let's continue. 1970, Syracuse players sit out of a season. 9 black players boycotted spring practice to protest the lack of black assistants or access to the same academic and medical resources as white players. Syracuse wouldn't take black players to road games in southern cities. Did y'all hear what I just said? Did y'all hear what I just said? I'm going to say it again. Syracuse in the 1970s would not take their black players on road games in the South. White teammates threatened to quit if the black players were reinstated. With linebacker Bill Coggle telling the Associated Press, I don't care if you call me a bigot, I'm not going to take it. The black players sat out the entire season, derailing their football careers, but all 9 graduated. They got their football career cut short, but they graduated. Yes, they had to pay a price. Freedom ain't free. Freedom ain't free, brothers and sisters. Freedom ain't free. Colin Kaepernick took his stand. Muhammad Ali took his stand. Bill Russell took his stand. Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf took his stand. The Syracuse football players took their stand. The AFL All-Star black football players took their stand in New Orleans. And I got to give another shout out. What is our African Asian sister? The tennis player, what is her name? What is her name? She took a stand. What's the sister's name? Naomi. What is Osaka? Naomi Osaka withdrew. Naomi Osaka, the Japanese tennis star who remains a one-surface wonder, will not play at Wimbledon. She announced in a social media post. Her and her team indicated that the withdrawal was due to her Achilles. But no. She withdrew. No. Maybe I got the wrong tournament. She withdrew after they said She might have blamed it on the Achilles. But the real reason was the Olympics said no social protest would be allowed. The Olympics said no social protest would be allowed. The Olympics said no social protest would be allowed. And since they said no Olympic athlete could protest in China, Naomi Osaka withdrew. She might have blamed it on the Achilles. But that sister heard Dr. Umar on the Breakfast Club. She might have blamed it on the Achilles. But that sister heard Dr. Umar on the Breakfast Club. She might have blamed it on the Achilles. But that sister heard Dr. Umar on the Breakfast Club. And I salute you, Sister Naomi Osaka. I salute you because you gave up money. That was another medal for you. But you sat it all down out of respect for your African race. You laid it all down for your respect for your African race. Still getting over my illness a little bit, but I had to go live on this. I had to go live because I wanted to say to my dear brother LeBron James, how can you live with yourself by offering a prayer in the safety of your home in Los Angeles? That brother was riddled with bullets. Police genocide is a major problem for black folks. And all you can do is offer a prayer. When I just read you a whole list of black athletes who risked their life at a time when there were no protections at all. I just read to you a whole history of black protests by athletes who were as large as you in their day. And they risked their life and their livelihood. And all you want to do is pray in your $1 million home on the other side of the country from your hometown where Brother Waylon, rest in peace, was lynched with 60 bullets. And all you can do is pray. No, sir, my brother. You want to be Michael Jordan? You want to catch him? You catching him. You catching Michael Jordan, brother, but not on the court. You catching him off the court with your political behavior. You want to be like Mike, LeBron? LeBron, you really want to be like Mike? You catching up, brother. You catching up. Sooner or later, I will consider you to be just like Mike. Just like Mike and just like Kobe. They could put, and I love Kobe as a player, but Kobe sold his race short as well. Rest in peace to him. Rest in peace. I think he's the greatest basketball player of all time. Not you and not Mike. I think it's Kobe, but all three of you. All three of you have fallen short when it comes to standing up for your people. All three of you have fallen short. You, sir, are catching up to Mike real quick by not doing a damn thing about what black people are going through. And then the NBA is trying to protect your image by constantly talking about what a great, responsible activist you are. I'm still looking for the activism because all I see is sound bites and press conferences. When you going to do something? Because a few seasons ago in the bubble, the Milwaukee Bucks wanted to do a walkout to protest police brutality. And you was against it. You tried to act like you was for it. No, you wasn't. No, you wasn't. And then you tried to blame Barack Obama and Michael Jordan for why you didn't go along with the protest, talking about you spoke to Barack Obama and Michael Jordan and they told you to keep playing basketball. So let me understand this. Let me understand this. You're supposed to be some kind of an activist, right? And you mean to tell me you from the ghetto in Akron? I've been to Akron. I'll be in Cleveland next month. I'll be in Toledo next month. So you from the ghetto in Akron, and instead of using your own mind to decide if you should support the Milwaukee Bucks protest, you go talk to Michael Jordan, who's done nothing to help black America. You go talk to Barack Obama, who's done nothing to help black America, and you tell people they told you to keep on playing basketball. What did you expect them to tell you? What did you expect them to tell you, LeBron James? What did you expect them to tell you, my brother? And now let me go to the NBA athletes and the NFL athletes. I just read to you all what black athletes in the 60s were doing to protest racial injustice. You Negroes make more money. You Negroes got more protections. But on September 1st, 2016, when Colin Kaepernick took that knee, on September 1st, 2016, when Colin Kaepernick took that knee, almost none of you took a knee with him. Almost none of you took a knee. How many black players in the NFL? Let me see. Let me see. How many black NBA players? Let me see. How many black NBA? According to racial equity activist Richard Lapchick, the NBA in 2020 was composed of 74.2% of black players, 16.9% of white players, 2.2% Latino players, and 0.4% of Asian players. Okay. That means 403 black men, 81% of all players in the 2019-2020 season. 2019-2020 season, that's the year Colin Kaepernick took a knee. That's the year Colin Kaepernick took a knee. 403 basketball players, 81% of the league. 403 black male basketball players, 81% of the NBA. Now let's go to the NFL. Let's go to the NFL. Let me see. As of 2020, 57.5% of NFL players are black. Okay? In 2021, 71% of the players in the NFL were people of color. I don't care about people of color. I care about black folks. Okay. 70% of the NFL players are black. I want numbers. I want some numbers. How many black NFL players? I want some numbers. They're not giving me the numbers. Somebody can let me know what the numbers are. But there's more NFL players than NBA players. So if there's 403 black NBA players, there has to be at least 1,000 black NFL players, right? Right? So you're 80% of the NBA. You're almost 70% of the NFL. You're 80% of the NBA. You're almost 70% of the NFL. And neither group stood with Colin Kaepernick. The NBA players were scared to do anything. The NFL players were scared. Not everybody. Shout out to the black players who stood with Colin Kaepernick. Shout out to the black players who engaged in their own protests. But when I look at the behavior of black NFL athletes, and when I look at the behavior of black NBA athletes, it was cowardly. It was weak. It was timid. And it was fearful. The black man in the NFL, in the NBA, was an embarrassment to the ancestors and to the race with how y'all dealt with police brutality in the black community. 1 minute y'all want to protest, next minute y'all pull back. 1 minute y'all want to protest, next minute y'all pull back. 1 minute y'all want to protest, next minute y'all pull back. And then the NBA was so comfortable. The NBA and the NFL got so comfortable with y'all Negroes not taking a stand that the NFL said, we're going to play the black national anthem. We're going to play the black national. What? We're going to play the white national anthem. And then we're going to play the black national anthem. And players who want to stay in the locker room while the Star Spangled Banner is playing can stay in the locker room, but there will be no field protests. We're not going to give Colin Kaepernick his job back, and you Negroes went for it. Do you see what happened when Bill Russell, it was only 5 players. It was only 5. Syracuse, it was only 7 players. Imagine if all the black NFL players, imagine if all the black NBA players would have said, none of us are playing until Colin get his job back. He would have got his job back in a day. He would have got his job back in a day. Y'all couldn't even stand together long enough for Colin Kaepernick to get his job back. Now let me go to the NBA. Remember when Donald Sterling got caught being a racist? And all white people are. He just got caught. All white people are racist. He just got caught. Remember when the owner of the Clippers got caught being a racist? LeBron James got on the microphone. He said, this is the greatest league in the world. I'm sure the NBA going to do what they got to do. We can't have that kind of behavior. Good job. More words, not too much, no action, but good job, LeBron. That was the perfect time for NBA athletes to say, we want some more black owners, and we want them in a year. We want them in 6 months. If we don't have at least 5 teams owned by black folks next season, there will be no season. Why didn't y'all do that? All y'all did was engage in passive aggressive protests. All y'all did was engage in passive aggressive protests. The LA Clippers came out and they had on black shirts or something. They wouldn't warm up. Something that was weak and passive. That's the best you can do. We're not going to wear our warm up. What? You got Muhammad Ali going to jail. You got Bill Russell risking his life. Even Naomi Osaka stood up to the Olympics. And you Negroes is being weak and cowardly? Come on, it's not acceptable. It's not acceptable. The reason I read the history of black professional athletes protesting injustice is LeBron. You're going to be added to this list. LeBron James, you will be written about after you retire. What do you want the truth to be said regarding you, sir? And what you did or did not do when black people were catching hell? Because if you think you're going to get mentioned with Colin Kaepernick, you're not. If you think you're going to get mentioned with Muhammad Ali, you're not. If you think you're going to get mentioned with Bill Russell, you're not. If you think you're going to get mentioned with those football players for Syracuse, you're not. If you think you're going to get mentioned with John Carlos, you're not. And if they mention you, they're going to say, he prayed for his city. That's what LeBron James did when he found out a young black man in his hometown got lynched by the police, 60 bullets, and they even handcuffed him in his death. LeBron James prayed for his city. Nah, bro. Muhammad Ali turning in his grave. Nah, bro. Muhammad Ali turning in his grave. Nah, bro. And for all you out there who think LeBron James is above criticism, I am happy to upset you. I am so happy to have you angry with me. I want you to understand that I take your anger and I turn it into energy. I take your malice and I use it for fuel. I take your self-haterism and I use it to build my strength. I could give a damn what you think about me. I could give a damn about you Negropeans who care more about athletes than the African community. You don't mean nothing to me, you snow bunny loving Negroes. Mike Conley of the Utah Jazz. I think he plays for the U. I like Mike Conley. Mike Conley, somebody sent me a picture of you. It appears you've been snow bunnied. I hope you haven't, Mike Conley. But somebody sent me a picture because we have a snow bunny watch. We have a national black celebrity snow bunny watch. If you get caught with skim milk, we're posting you with the bunny rabbit. Ain't nobody above accountability. Mike Conley, you look like you've been snow bunnied. Chris Rock. Now, Chris Rock, I like you. Now, my West Philly brother Will had to put the smack down because you disrespected his queen, trying to turn into a joke for white folks. But I like you other than that. You did the black hair documentary, Good Hair. I thought that was an excellent documentary. But Chris Rock, you cannot talk about black women needing to wear their own hair and then you go date a white woman. Chris Rock, are you listening to me, sir? Chris Rock, are you listening? You cannot do a Good Hair documentary talking about black women need to wear their own hair and then you get caught with the white girl. Now, it could have been a business date, but TMZ posted you. TMZ snitched. TMZ called the Snow Bunny Watch on your ass. And Chris Rock, it looks like you have been snow bunnied. Yes, it's true. Most black men do not marry white women. That is true. That's true. Most black men do not marry white women. But black men marry white women more than all other men put together as a percentage of your population. And when we select out for income and education, when we select out for income and education, the amount of black men who marry outside their race, who are upper middle class and above, goes up to 40%. It goes up to 40%. So nearly half of successful, let me say very successful, nearly half of very successful black men marry outside the race. So yes, it's a problem. It's a problem. And once again, I have no problem with any of you being angry with me for exposing your self-hatred. I do not support sexual integration. I do not support sexual integration. I am not a sexual integrationist. I am not. I hate nobody. I absolutely hate nobody. I do not hate whites. I do not hate Asians. I do not hate Arabs. I do not hate Latinos. I do not hate European Jews. I do not hate Anglo-Saxons, Mexicans. I hate nobody. I love black people. I love the black family. I love the black woman. I love black children. And for that reason, I am against anything that is in the best interest of black people. And I do not care how you feel about it. I'm the father of unapologetically black. Whenever you see unapologetically black, I came up with that concept. That's my movement. Whenever you see unapologetically African, I came up with that concept. That's mine. Every time you see the shirt, every time you see the hat, every time you see the slogan, I'm the father of that. And it's time that you understand what it means. Don't say you unapologetically black and you're not. Don't say you unapologetically African and you're not. LeBron James, I respect you, my brother. I love you, my brother. But I'm telling you right now, a lot of people going to lose a lot of respect for your ass if all you going to do is pray. You got about 7 days to get your ass over to Akron, Ohio and do something. I don't care if it's a peaceful protest. I don't care if you got to meet with the mayor and come up with a police reform act for the city. I don't care if you got to go to Ohio State Legislature, because let us not forget, little Tamir Rice was butchered in Cleveland in 2014. Let us not forget little Tamir Rice was butchered in Cleveland in 2014. So this ain't the first time. Akron is a suburb of Cleveland. You're only 40 minutes away. So you got Tamir Rice, and now we got Brother Waylon. We got Tamir Rice, and now we got Brother Waylon. So maybe you need to meet with the governor. Maybe you need to meet with the Congressional Black Caucus of the state of Ohio and see what them Negroes is doing. LeBron James, you got some work to do, sir. Oh, yes, you need a mayor. You need to be meeting with the police. You need to be meeting with the city. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Ain't no black billionaire got time to be praying. You need to be home in Akron organized. You ain't got to get in trouble because we know you just struck that deal with those people to become a billionaire. We know what's going on. Nobody's stupid, but you can still do more than what you're doing. You owe it to all the athletes who came before you. Like I said, you want to be like Mike? Oh, you becoming just like Mike. Not on the court, off the court. Now let me move on. Now let me move on. Now let me move on. Somebody sent me something today where some white people, some Caucasians, members of the mayonnaise mafia, were talking about how black people play the race card too much. Black people play the race card too much. Hit the Cash App for the shockumentary, $ Dr. Umar Johnson. Hit the Cash App for the shockumentary, $ Dr. Umar Johnson. Hit the Cash App for the shockumentary, $ Dr. Umar Johnson. Hit your Zelle for the shockumentary, 215-989-9858. Hit your Zelle for the shockumentary, 215-989-9858. Hit your Zelle for the shockumentary, 215-989-9858. I want to talk to white America right now. I want to talk to white people who claim to be liberal progressives. Ain't no such thing as an anti-racist white person. That is the biggest piece of bullish I have heard all year. Let me say it again. There's no such thing as an anti-racist white people. Okay? And I'm sick and tired of you black liberals talking about anti-racist whites. Ain't no such thing as an anti-racist white. In order for a white person to be anti-racist, they would have to be anti-white themselves. For a white person to be anti-racist, when you understand what racism means, it means that they would be anti their own people, and they're never going to be that. Ain't no such thing as an anti-racist white person, but you damn black liberals with your sexual integrationist agenda keep trying to make white folks feel comfortable. And you do this at the expense of black dignity. You do this at the expense of black self-respect. You do this at the expense of black pride. If you cannot go into a room of white folks without catering to them at the expense of my truth. See, when I go into a room of white folks, I know I'm representing every African on the face of this earth. If you say something disrespectful about my Congolese brothers and sisters, I'ma check you. You say something disrespectful about one of my Caribbean Africans, I'ma check you. You say something disrespectful about my Africans in Europe, my Africans in Asia, I'ma check you. Say something disrespectful about my Brazilian Africans, my Surinamese Africans, my Guyana, I'ma check you. Say something disrespectful about my Nigerian Africans, my South American Africans. Say something disrespectful about my Kenyan Africans, I'ma check you. I'm not letting nobody whose privilege is based off my people's oppression make me feel so uncomfortable that I'm going to start kissing up to them and make them feel comfortable. How often you see white folks kissing up to make black people feel comfortable? How often do you see white folks kissing up to make black people feel comfortable? No. Ain't no anti-racist white person. But let's talk about the race card. Let's talk about the race card. I'm only going to keep y'all for a few more minutes. Let's talk about, let me look up the definition. Let's see what white folks got out here. The race card. Here we go. Okay, the race card, the race card. Listen to this. Listen to this. Playing the race card is an idiomatic phrase that refers to the exploitation by someone of either racist or anti-racist attitude in the audience in order to gain an advantage. It constitutes an accusation of bad faith directed at the person or persons raising concerns as it regards racism. Okay. The exploitation by somebody in the audience to gain an advantage. So let me ask a question, white people. What advantage do black people get when we remind you that you are a racist? When I tell you that all white people are racist, does that stop police brutality? When I tell you that all white people are racist, does that deliver reparations? When I tell you that all white people are racist, does that reverse miseducation? When I say that all white people are racist, does that build independent hospitals in the black community? When I say all white people are racist, does that stop mass incarceration? I'm trying to look at the unfair advantage that black people get. What is the unfair advantage that black people get when we remind white folks that you do not believe in freedom, you don't believe in justice, and you don't believe in equality? And the only time you use those words is when you're celebrating your fictitious history, like you did a few days ago on the 4th of July. You only use those words when you're celebrating your fictitious history, or you're trying to colonize somebody's land and resources in the name of making the world safe for democracy. If you love democracy so much, Mr. White man and woman, if you love democracy, that means the CIA has never assassinated a democratically elected president. Is that true? President Biden? Vice President Kamala Harris, is it true that the CIA, which is a branch of the U.S. government, is it true that the CIA has never assassinated a democratically elected president? Because last time I checked, Patrice Emery Lumumba, the first democratically elected, he wasn't the president, he was the prime minister of the Congo, was democratically elected. And y'all, his execution was ordered by Dwight David Eisenhower, ordered by Eisenhower on the eve of Kennedy's election, and Kennedy co-signed it too. And y'all had that brother assassinated, had his body buried, dug up, chopped up, sliced up, dissolved in acid, reburied, and y'all just now giving his teeth back to his family this year. And that happened in 61. Y'all just now giving his teeth back to his family in 2022, and that happened in 61. And he was democratically elected, and he's not the only one. I can give you a whole list of African and Caribbean African and South American African and Central American African leaders who were democratically elected that the CIA assassinated. So don't tell me y'all give a damn about no democracy. Don't ever tell me y'all give a damn about no democracy. White people, I have a question. To all the white people who participated in the George Floyd protests, I have a question to all the white people who participated in the George Floyd protests. 2 years ago, white people all over America integrated the Black Marches for Justice. Can I ask you white people, where were you when our brothers and sisters in Akron, Ohio were protesting the other day for Brother Wayland? I'm talking to the white activists. Millions of you protested 2 years ago all over the country. It was all over the news. I want to ask you good white people, where were you the other day when our brothers and sisters were protesting in Akron? Where were you when Ma'Khia Bryant got shot multiple times for having a knife? Where were you when, what is our brother's name? Amir Pope in Minneapolis, Minnesota, shot to death in his cousin's apartment? Where were you? Where did all the good white people go from the George Floyd protests? I mean, it's only been 2 years. Where are all these white people who were on the streets? Millions of you, every city. You know where you went? You went to hell home because you were not serious. You were not concerned. And the reason you infiltrated to march was to make sure your privilege would not be jeopardized. Still getting over my cold. Any sisters in the Philadelphia area can make me a pot of homemade chicken noodle soup. I need me a pot of homemade. Let me call on the queen mothers. Let me call queen mothers in the Philadelphia area. I need a queen mother to make me a pot of chicken noodle soup, old school style. I want the 1960s chicken noodle soup. I am an orator. I need my lungs clear. I'm taking my garlic. I'm taking my vitamin C. I got my apple cider vinegar. I got my black seed. I got my cayenne. I got my green tea. I got my orange juice, my alkaline water, my copper bottle. Queen mothers, I need a pot of Philadelphia homemade black woman's chicken noodle soup. I need that. I need that. I gotta get ready for Chicago. Bantu Festival. Gotta get ready for Chicago. Bantu, but I digress. Where are all the whites from the George Floyd protests? They're home. You know why? They did not get into the George Floyd protests for you. They got into the George Floyd protests for them. The white folks who marched to make sure you didn't get nothing. They deliberately diluted the black power of the march to make sure it amounted to nothing. Let me say it again. So you can understand, overstand, and understand me. Let me say it again, because I want you to understand, overstand, and understand me. The Instagram African said, I'm leaving them out. So we got to bring Instagram in. The Instagram Africans are claiming foul play. So let me see if we can get the Instagram Africans in. Let me get the Instagram Africans in. The white protesters of the George Floyd protests, the most comprehensive social protests in American history since the Dr. King assassination protests, resulted in nothing for black people because the white people who infiltrated the march did so to dilute the direction, dilute the agenda, dilute the black power. And as a result of that, Negroes received nothing. Do you think those white people who marched in the George Floyd protests, do you think they care about what happened to Brother Waylon in Akron? Do you think they care about Ma'Khia Bryant? Do you think they care about Amir Pope and all the other countless numbers of black folks who've died before or since? But you Negroes are so in love with being accepted by a people who will never accept you. It's absolutely ridiculous. You Negroes are so in love with being accepted by a people who will never accept you. Let me read. Well, I can't because I'm using both phones. But I was reading the workup by the media about Waylon. And they were saying that the police claimed they heard a gunshot out the window. They found a gun and a magazine on the seat in his car. Never said if it was his gun. Never said if it was legally registered or not. But the point I'm making, he had no weapon on his body, LeBron James. He had no weapon on his body at the time of the chase and the assassination. To justify 90 shots, 60 of which took place, the police said in the dark, and this is a dark-skinned brother, my complexion. In the dark, they say, he stops, he turns, and it looks like he may have been going for a weapon. How about he stopped because there was nowhere to run? How about he turned because he was giving himself up? And how about what you lied and said was him reaching for a gun was nothing more than him getting ready to put his hands up in surrender mode? Waylon wasn't murdered because y'all thought he had a gun. You knew he didn't have a gun because the gun was on the seat. You saw the gun on the seat before you chased my brother down. You saw the gun on the street before you chased my brother down. So you knew he had no weapon. Waylon was murdered for daring to elude white police. Waylon was the symbolic runaway slave off the plantation. Waylon was a runaway slave trying to get away from his masters. Waylon was on the Underground Railroad trying to get free from his oppressors. And just like 200 years ago, just like 200 years ago, the slave master and the slave catcher and the slave overseer hunted that brother down in cold blood and executed him. On the plantation, you died for daring to be free. I need y'all to understand and understand me. I really need y'all to get this. I'm trying to draw a parallel here. And the reason I'm drawing this parallel, Facebook and Instagram family, the reason I'm drawing this parallel, Facebook and Instagram family, is because some of you 3 days ago were celebrating your slave master's independence from Britain. I want to draw a parallel, right? See, you got June 19th Africans and you got July 4th Negropeans. You got June 19th Africans and you got July 4th Negropeans. You got June 19th Africans and you got July 4th Negropeans. I'm trying to draw a parallel here. So 200 years ago, 157 years ago on the plantation, if Waylon tried to run away, he would be shot dead for thinking he had a right to be free. In fact, white folk demonized freedom so much that they created a mental illness for slaves who thought they had a right to be free. I'm going to say it again. White folks demonized freedom so much that they created a mental illness to stigmatize blacks who thought they had a right to escape the plantation system. They called it drapetomania. So Waylon had drapetomania. Waylon said, I'm running away from the police. I'm running away from the plantation police. And the plantation police, being the narcissistic, psychopathological, sociopathic, Eurocentric, egocentric, bloodthirsty snow demons that they are, pursued our brother from the plantation to the parking lot. I said they pursued him from the plantation to the parking lot. Our brother was on the Underground Railroad as a runaway slave until he couldn't run no more. Waylon said, I'm going to give myself up because I got nowhere to go. And instead, they shot at him 90 times. I got a question. I don't know if we have any black ballistics experts. I have a question. I don't know if we have any black ballistics experts. I have a question. I don't know if we have any black ballistics experts, but on average, assuming they're using the Glock gun, I think Akron police use the Glock also. I don't know. How many bullets does it take for an average human body to fall? Brothers and sisters, I'm going somewhere with this. Brothers and sisters, I'm going somewhere. And let me tell you where I'm going. When you look at the history of lynching in the black community, when you look at the history of lynching in the black community, after they hanged the black man, his body was used for target practice. After they hanged, let me get my ancestral staff. After they hanged a black man, his body would then be riddled with bullets. So once you became strange fruit, it did not end. Even in death, they had to desecrate your remains. So they hung you, and then everybody in the slave posse, the slave catching posse, the Akron police slave catching posse would then riddle the bullets of the lynched black man. How many bullets does it take for your body to hit the ground? Brother Waylon was even shot in the face multiple times. With a gun that powerful, I can't imagine. I mean, one bullet can put you down. I think it's safe to say 10 bullets is more than enough to put you down. Are we supposed to believe that Waylon was still on his feet to receive 60 bullets? I'm going to ask the question again. I want to give my brother LeBron James some questions to ask when he go home, because he better take his ass home and find out what's going on. Are we to believe that Waylon was still on his feet for 60 bullets? Are you telling me that brother, who seemed to have a very thin frame, he seemed like he was a slender brother, are you telling me that Waylon stayed on his feet for 60 bullets? Who believes that tonight? Brothers and sisters, who believes that Waylon stood on his feet for 60 bullets? Or did Waylon hit the ground after 5 or 10 bullets in the final 50 was celebration of the desecration? Do you believe Waylon was on his feet for 60 bullets, or did Waylon hit the ground after 10 and the final 50 bullets was a celebration of the desecration? What's my brother Waylon's last name? Our brother who was murdered in Akron, Ohio, lynched by the police, and then his body was used for What's Waylon's last name, y'all? Somebody type the last name. What's my brother's last name in Akron, Ohio? The brother we're talking about who just got shot 60 times. I got to draw another parallel. What's Waylon's last name, family? I don't see it on Instagram yet. I don't see it on Facebook. Can somebody type the brother's last name? Can we please tap in and be responsible for a minute? What's the brother's? Waylon Walker. Thank you, Amp Twin. Thank you, Amp Twin. Waylon Walker. Anyway. Wait a minute. Steph Curry is from Akron, Ohio? Steph Curry is from Akron, Ohio. Is that true? Can somebody confirm that Steph Curry is from Akron, Ohio? Because if he is, I'm going to get on him too. And I like Steph. Steph is my guy. But if he from Akron and anybody else from Akron, football, basketball, baseball, tennis ball. But let us be honest. This is on all of us. Because when it comes to black life, there is no territory. When it comes to black life, there is no boundary. When it comes to black life, there is no tribalism. When it comes to black life, it's all for one and one for all. The most honorable Marcus Garvey used to say. The most honorable Marcus Garvey used to say. The most honorable Marcus Garvey used to say, the whole world is my dominion until all African people are free. The whole world is my dominion until all African people are free. The whole world is my dominion until African people are free. But brothers and sisters, I believe they shot Jalen as his body lay lifeless on the ground. They continued to shoot his corpse and then had the audacity to put handcuffs on that brother. White people talking about we played a race card. First of all, black life ain't no damn game. So when you say race card, you're trivializing our experience. The whole purpose of the concept of the race card is to make black people feel irresponsible for calling you out on being who you are. The whole purpose of the concept of the race card is to make black people feel uncomfortable on calling you out on who you are. The whole purpose of the concept of the race card is to make black people feel uncomfortable on calling you out on who you are. I tell you what, we about 15% of the population. Give me 15% of the resources. Give me 15% of the land. Give me 15% of the banks. Give me 15% of the farms. Give me 15% of the police. Give me 15% of the political power. Give me 15% of the U.S. Senate. Give me 15% of everything. And then we can negotiate whether or not the race card is a real thing. Because what we know about white folk, in order to protect your privilege, you have to constantly keep your victims defending their accusations about truths that we all know to be true. And black people, y'all have to stop falling into these traps. Can I keep y'all for 15 more minutes? Can I keep y'all for 15 more minutes? Can I keep y'all for 15 more minutes? I'm going to take you to midnight, and then I need to go to sleep. Drink me some tea. Queen Mother elders in the Philadelphia area, I need a pot of some old-fashioned, old-school, black woman magic chicken noodle soup. Text my phone. I'm picking up some chicken noodle soup tomorrow from some queen mother. I can't do the queens because y'all going to pull the Kim Ringworm on me. Y'all going to pull Anaya the Cyber Thought on me. I'm not doing it. I'll come to your house and pick up the chicken noodle soup. You're going to turn it into a whole scandal. Too much cyber thoughting. I can't do the young queens. Queen mother only. 215-989-9858. Sister Lori Singleton. You're going to have my birthday bracelets when I come to Cleveland. I will see you for Garvey Day, African American Museum in Cleveland, Friday, August the 19th. Toledo, Ohio, Thursday, August the 11th. Houston, Texas, Houston, Texas, Houston, Texas, Houston, Texas, Saturday, April the 13th, Houston, Texas. But let me say this. Let me say this. I had an ADHD moment. Where was I? I had an ancestral diversion for higher deliberation. Give me 1 second. I had an ADHD moment. Where was I? Where was I? My illness got me off a little bit. Where was I just now? Where was I? Let me back up. Where was I? White people and the so-called privileges. I said, give us 15% of everything. Give us our percentage of all power developing assets and institutions. And then we can talk about putting the race card out of commission. But the point that I was making is the white power structure keeps black people imbalanced because they always creating a narrative that forces you to explain accusations that they know are true, which is why I don't get involved in that. See, I don't do, y'all do that because y'all want white people to feel compassion for you. You want white folks to understand you. You want them to identify with you. You want them to feel your pain. You think you can get them to be a little bit more humane. I harbor no such imaginations. I harbor no such imaginations. I harbor no such imaginations. When I talk to white folks, the only thing I want to talk about is what are you willing to change versus what do we have to force you to change. That's it. That's it. I'm not trying to have no long discussion about slavery. I don't want to hear about how your grandparents didn't own no slaves. I'm so tired of white folks telling black people they family didn't own no slaves. I don't care if your family didn't own any slaves. I can promise you one thing. Your family benefited from the people who did own slaves. I bet you one thing, your family got a job because slavery existed. I bet you that. I bet you your family benefited from the enslavement of mine because the enslavement of African people was the central catalyst. It was the engine. It was the main commodity. The enslavement of African people is the heart and soul of America's rise to greatness. So whether they own slaves or not, they benefit from it. It's no different than a white person today saying, I never shot no black person. I never called no black person the N-word, which is a lie. Every white person has used the N-word before. Every white person has used the N-word. I'm going to say it again. Every white person. Let me say this. When I was vice principal at a charter school here in Philadelphia, this is almost 20 years ago. When I was vice principal at a charter school here in Philadelphia, the number one reason I had to suspend the white kids, the number one reason for suspensions of kindergartner and first grade white kids was use of the N-word against their African classmates. I'm going to say it again. I'm not quoting from no book. I don't need to read no study. I'm telling you what I lived. The number one reason I had to suspend kindergarten and first grade white kids was for calling black kids the N-word. So let me ask you a question. You're telling me 5- and 6-year-old white kids who actually live around black kids are going to school and calling them the N-word. 5- and 6-year-old white kids who actually live around black kids are going to school calling them the N-word. And you want me to believe that a 20-year-old white kid ain't never used the word. A 30-year-old white person ain't never used the word. A 40 and 50-year-old white person ain't never used the word. A 50 and 60 and 70 and 80-year-old so-called liberal progressive white has never called a black person the N-word, but yet and still, I had 5- and 6-year-olds calling their black kindergarten and first grade classmates the N-word, and you want me to believe you never used it. If there's any black person stupid enough to believe the white people you know have never called a black person the N-word, then you are out of your mind. You deserve to be played like the fool you are. You black men out there with your snow bunnies, if you really believe your white wife has never called another black man the N-word and still does when you're not around, in fact, not only do they do it, they call you the N-word when you're not around. Oh, yeah. Do you really think Kim Kardashian never let one fly? In talking about Kanye after they separated, do you really think Kim Kardashian ain't never let one fly in talking about Kanye West after they separate. Do you really think Robert De Niro didn't let the N-word fly when he was talking about his black wife, when she tried to take half his money, although the courts wouldn't let him? You don't think they let one fly? Oh, really? You really think the white women married to black men are different than the white women married to white men? You believe it. You believe the white women married to black men are different from the white women married to white men. I'm starting to lose my voice. We got 8 minutes. I'm starting to lose my voice. We got 8 minutes. As I prepare to wrap up, I got to say this. Somebody asked me today, Dr. Umar, why do you have a problem answering questions related to the renovations and the progress thereof taking place at the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy? I want to say to you, I have no problems answering questions from people who are vested in the success of our academy, which will be the first school of its kind to be built the way that it has, exclusively with black dollars. In the history of this country, you've never seen it before. We're the first of its type. I have no problem answering questions for people who are invested in the FDMG campaign. I'm talking people who put their money where their mouth is. But for Negroes who have not donated, or have donated $5 in 8 years, or $10 in 8 years, or $20 in 8 years, I'm not concerned with what you think or what your questions are. Let's kick a couple statistics out. Number one, I am the only person in the conscious community. You cannot name another one. I'm going to say it again. I am the only person in the black consciousness community. You cannot name another one who is building a relevant institution. Name me somebody. Young, old, elder. Name me somebody who's trying to build a relevant. None of them. Every last one of them are YouTube addicts. That's all they do, is make videos. Video after video after video after video after video after video, another video, another video. And don't get me wrong, I have the videos, right? But I don't have a YouTube page. And I'm not a struggle streamer. I have more videos at 1 million views or more than everybody else put together. I have more credentials and degrees than everybody else put together. I have a larger following and support base than everybody else put together. I've raised more money for the FDMG campaign than anybody else put together. The point that I'm making is I'm not better than nobody else, but I'm on a different level than everybody else. I'm not better than anybody else, but I'm on a different level than everybody else. So you don't deal with me the way you deal with them, because they don't walk my walk and they don't talk my talk. They don't wear it the way I wear it. How many of them are telling black men don't date outside the race? Name me one. Name me one of your YouTubian fake woke struggle streamers who telling black men don't date outside the race. You can't name one of them. Oh, they'll tell you you're not African in a minute. Oh, they'll tell you you're not African in a minute, but they won't tell you not to date white girls. See, they'll tell you you're not African, but they won't tell you not to date white girls. Uh-huh. 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 Oh, you ain't African, but they won't tell you not to date white girls. And let me say this, because I'm so tired of you Negroes sliding into my Instagram DMs talking about Dr. Umar. Why do you call yourself an African? Why not use the word melanated? Dr. Umar, why you call yourself African? Why not use the word indigenous? Dr. Umar, why you call yourself African? Why not use the word aboriginal? Let me intellectually assassinate those three words so you can go to bed and get ready to work tomorrow so you can donate to the FDMG Academy. The word aboriginal and the word indigenous. One is of Latin origin. The other is of Greek origin, if memory serves me correctly. I want y'all to stay with me. All you anti-Africanites, I want you to stay with me. You think you're so smart, but you ain't fooling me. You can fool the Negro. What they say, you can fool some of the people all the time. And all the people some of the time. You can fool some of the people all the time. And all the people some of the time. But you can't fool the Prince of Pan-Africanism any other time. Let me say it one more time. You can fool some of the people all the time. And you can fool all the people some of the time. But you can't fool me any other time. So the word aboriginal and the word indigenous are both have their origin in European language. Let me say it again. Oh my God. The word indigenous and the word aboriginal both have their origin in European language. One is from the Latin, one is from the Greek. Both of them originated in the 17th century. That means the 1600s. Stay with me. So if the word indigenous and the word aboriginal have their origin in the 17th century, which is the 1600s, I ask you a question. Were you on this planet before 1600? Because American slavery was 1619. American slavery was 1619. American slavery was 1619. So my question to you, are you older than 1600? Because if you are older than 1600, the word aboriginal, which comes from white folks, is not what you called yourself. The word indigenous, which comes from white folks, is not what you called yourself. Well, you say, Dr. Umar, what about melanated? I got 3 points on that. My melanated people. I got 3 points on that. See, this is Garvey. See, y'all still don't understand. Y'all don't understand Pan-Africanism. Y'all don't understand what I'm living for. Y'all don't get this. Some of you Pan-Africanists, you have yet to touch the essence of African fundamentalism. You don't get it yet. Some of my Africans in Africa, you don't get it yet. Some of my Caribbean Africans, my Canadian Africans, my British and French, some of you don't get it yet. But I'm going to make sure you get it tonight. Why would I call myself a Latin word? Why would I call myself a Greek word? And the word melanin is also of European origin. And the first time that word is used is in the 1800s. So Aboriginal, 1600s, indigenous, 1600s, melanated, 1800s. How old is the word African? First of all, the mother continent was never referred to by just one name. Africa is a continent of kingdoms. Stay with me, Negroes. I know your Willie Lynch chip is about to explode, but stay with your brother one time. Africa is a continent of kingdoms. Every kingdom had a word for the continent. And as our great grandmaster teachers taught us, from Sheikh Anta Diop to Dr. Ivan Van Sertima and others, the word Afrika, the three phonemes of that ancient word Afrika, can be found in the ancient language of the Kamites of Nile Valley culture. I'm going to say it again. The word Afrika, Ra being God, Ka being spirit, existed in the language of the greatest civilization to ever be built on this planet. And then we find it again, down through time. Afrika, it comes back to us again. So you get the Afrika, you get the Afrika, which means birth of man. Afrika, birth of man, from African language. Afrika, from the Kemetic script. Afrika, from the Kemetic script, from the seed of God, or from God's spirit. So the word African is an ancient word. Aboriginal is only what? 1600s, 1700s, 1800s, 19. The word Aboriginal is what? Might not even be 500 years old. The word indigenous might not even be 500 years old. The word melanated is what? 200 years old, 250 years old. Are you Negroes on drugs? Or are you really that stupid that you're going to come to me? You're going to come to me with a, why don't you call yourself Aboriginal? You idiot. You're going to come to me, why don't you call yourself indigenous? You idiot. You're going to come to me, why don't you call yourself melanated? You idiot. Those words only been around a few centuries, but the word Afrika has no date, because it is as old as the continent, as old as the ancestors, as old as the civilization. If you want to be Aboriginal with your white man word, go ahead. You want to be indigenous with your white man word, go ahead. You want to be melanated with your white man word, go ahead. I am an African. Yesterday, tomorrow, forever, after I'm gone. Afrika. You can be what you want. You can follow who you want. You can follow him. You can follow him. You can follow them. You can read that book. You can study that book. I believe in freedom of religion. I believe in freedom of political orientation. I believe in freedom of religion. I believe in freedom of political orientation. But when you step into the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy, when you step into the Frederick Douglass and Marcus Garvey Academy, brothers and sisters, we only got but one thing to teach. When you step in that school, when you show up to our school, when you walk into that school, we only got one thing. If it ain't real, I'm going to tell your sons on the first day of school. I'm going to tell your sons on the first day of school. Everything you need has the letters FDMG written on the cover. If there's anything in your book bag that don't have the letters FDMG Academy written on it, you don't need it. Take it out, throw it in the trash. You are here to be re-Africanized. Your parents are paying tuition for me to make you into the man God destined for you to become. It's a wrap. You ain't seen no school until you seen our school. You ain't seen no school. So let the haters hate. Let them assassinate my character. Let them spread lies. Let I heard some people I went to high school with was slandering my name. I heard some people I went to college with slandering my name. I heard people in the conscious community slandering my name. Even blood relatives slandering my name. But I say, go ahead. Because the Lord will make your face my footstool. Go ahead and slander the name. Do whatever you must. I've survived you Negroes for 25 years. And with the will of the Almighty, I will survive you for another 25. I am black and I am proud. I come from a great people who are trusting in me to help take us back to where we belong. And I have dedicated my life to the sacred fight of revolutionary Pan-African nationalism. And I could care less who don't like it. Hit your Cash App for the school, $FDMG school. If you learned anything tonight, I don't care if it's $1. If you learned anything from me tonight, I don't care if it's $1. You hit your Cash App. $FDMG school. $FDMG school. Hit your PayPal. PayPal.me/FDMG Academy. Hit your PayPal. PayPal.me/FDMG Academy. My eyes is burning now. I don't know why. Ancestors must be telling me it's time to go to bed. So you can dream, so we can give you some more instructions, so we can engage in the divine download. Brothers and sisters, this African redemption movement ain't no game. We might laugh and joke, but we dead serious, brothers and sisters. Dr. King died for this. He wasn't no Pan-Africanist, but he fought for his people. Fred Hampton, George and Jonathan Jackson, Medgar Evers died for this. They were not Pan-Africanists, but they loved their people. Patrice Lumumba, Amilcar Cabral, Steve Biko, Dedan Kimathi, they died for this, brothers and sisters. So ain't no games here. Hit the Cash App for the Shockumentary, $Dr. Umar Johnson. Hit the Zelle for the Shockumentary, 215-989-9858. If you want to get interviewed for the Shockumentary. If you want to get interviewed for the Shockumentary, text my phone. Interviews begin Monday. Interviews for the Shockumentary begin Monday. Text my phone if you got a story to tell. New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Delaware, Maryland, Washington, D.C. Text your first name, your city, and the word Shockumentary. Text your first name, your city, and the word Shockumentary. Chicago, I will see you the 23rd and 24th for the Bantu Festival. I speak at 1 o'clock, both days. Hyde Park, Bantu Festival, Chicago Africans, Germaniacs, Team Ifatunde. Pull up. Toledo, Ohio, August 11th. Pull up. Cleveland, Ohio, Garvey Day, August 19th at the African American Museum. Pull up. Harlem, New York, Garvey Day, August 17th. Pull up. Jacksonville, North Carolina, August the 8th. Pull up. Nat Turner Land, Virginia. Go to natturnerlibrary.com, August the 21st. Pull up. Houston, Texas, August the 13th. Houston, Texas, August the 13th. Houston, Texas, August the 13th. Pull up. Frederick Douglass, Marcus Garvey, Second Annual Festival. Ifatunde Avenue, Dr. Papa Boulevard, Prince of Pan-Africanism Parkway. Make sure you register, fdmgfestival.com. Stop asking me when I'm coming to your city. If you want me there, you will email an official request. Stop asking me when I'm coming to your city. If you want me there, you will email an official request. My email address is drumarjohnson, drumarjohnson @yahoo.com. Waldorf, Maryland, September the 18th, Waldorf, Maryland. We working on we working on Grand Rapids, Michigan, and Lansing, Michigan. We working on Grand Rapids, Michigan, and Lansing, Michigan. Camden, New Jersey, Unity Day, August the 7th. Camden, New Jersey, Unity Day. FDMG is coming. I think I've said enough. I need some chicken noodle soup. I need some homemade chicken noodle soup. I can't do it all on my own. I need some chicken noodle soup. That's all I have to say. This is the Prince of Pan-Africanism, the most relevant and requested, Black scholar in the world, 7 continents, the most videos, the most views, the most degrees, the most engagements, the only one building an institution. You can't compare nobody else to me. Nobody. Nobody is on my level. None of them. And you can tell them I said it. Get some sleep. Black power.